All of those fun games you spent endless hours playing could have been quickly completed on easy mode, but then you would probably be asking yourself, what's the fun in that? Did you know there are games out there which will punish you for taking the easy route? Imagine if there were an easy mode for Dark Souls. The world would have been a better, simpler place. Let's take a look at this list dedicated to 10 video games with the ability to troll you for playing on easy. If you're a fan of trolling others, then you're going to love these video games that do just the same. Subscribe to our channel for even more tips and tricks from your favorite titles. Sonic the Hedgehog. Picking up a retro game like Sonic the Hedgehog makes us realize how much we feel like a marshmallow for playing new games. It's just too hard, you guys. Seriously, just play one round of the classic game on Sega, and you'll get what we're talking about. Why have game designers blessed or cursed us with endless lives and easy bosses in today's games? Sonic Jam, released in 1997, contained 4 of the main Sonic the Hedgehog titles. The game also included a 3D environment called Sonic World, which was an interactive museum consisting of Sonic the Hedgehog content. This was basically just a promotional gimmick to raise awareness toward the Sonic brand, and it apparently worked. There was a port called the Sonic Easy Mode, and this was a part of the original Sonic the Hedgehog title. Now, Easy Mode in Sonic Jam goes so far as to basically belittle a player, since it uses completely different level layouts. If you thought you were going to get nostalgic Sonic vibes all over your controller, well, you would have been wrong, since the level order is different, and some of the levels are even omitted out of the game on Easy Mode. It took our frustration with the Sonic series to an entirely new level that still gives us PTSD at times. Superman 64. It's funny we haven't made a list of the worst video games ever created, because this title would have surely made it right there at the top if we had. It's a hidden gem which probably would remain best kept secret from your friends. Seriously, don't tell them or your family you've played this game. We know Superman has been popular since the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice movie, or debacle to the fans, whatever gets you through the day. You really just can't let anyone know that you've played Superman 64. The game is full of glitches and obviously glaring plot holes we'd prefer not to talk about. Ask anyone about it and they'll most likely give you the same answer. It's just a bad game. If you decided to play the game on easy mode, the developers thought it would be a good idea to take out the rings for the game in the first level. By the way, the rings are like the one thing you're supposed to be collecting, so basically you're flying around for over a minute looking like a weirdo. But it's totally cool because you have a cape and you're Superman. Admit it, you're secretly hoping it's just a glitch. Mickey Mouse, Castle of Illusion. The one thing we thought we could count on in our life was Mickey Mouse. But even in the early 90s, he found a way to troll players for playing on easy mode. We just hope you didn't accidentally select practice mode one time to be introduced to a sick joke by your favorite Disney character. In this game, if you happen to play the practice mode, you would only get to play 3 levels, and at the end, you walk right by the final boss and rescue Minnie. Also, Mickey shames you for playing on beginner mode and suggests you try a harder difficulty to enjoy the full experience. Thanks, pal. The worst part is it shouldn't be called practice mode at all, because it definitely doesn't prepare you for the adventure you're about to be a part of. Mickey uses a few different items to throw at his enemies. These include objects like apples and candy, because it is a kid's game after all. But we were kinda hoping to see Mickey wielding a machete, if we're gonna be perfectly honest. We're not saying we were disappointed, but next time we hope Disney gets the hint. Mickey with a machete. Valkyrie Profile. We wonder what the game developers were thinking when they made this game. Do you know what a really good trick would be? What's that, Phil? Or insert some other Japanese game developer name. What if we made the easy mode the most difficult one? It would probably be great fun. Yeah, that sounds like great fun. Valkyrie Profile is the game capable of trolling just about anyone. Now, most players know easy mode is set up for beginners to give them a feel for the game. But if you're going to play a game, you might as well play it right. At least that's how the developers feel about the project they spent countless hours of their lives creating. Okay, we get it. Kind of. Valkyrie Profile was a success, even if players felt trolled by easy mode, which was actually the hardest in the game. The title sold over 700,000 copies, and the game was so well received, even today, it can still cost more to buy the game used than when it was first released in 1999. And who could forget to mention that if you didn't play on hard mode, you couldn't unlock all 24 characters. But wait, isn't easy mode actually hard mode? Star Wars: Shadow of the Empire. One of the game developers' favorite ways to troll players who played on easy mode was to completely eliminate the ending of a game unless they chose to play on a more difficult mode. This is exactly what happened in Star Wars: Shadow of the Empire. Kids couldn't get past this by searching for the ending on YouTube back then either. They actually had to put in the effort to play the game again on a harder setting. Otherwise, the game's developer felt all of their hard work and effort would have been wasted. It was really hard to even be mad at a game as great as Star Wars: Shadow of the Empire. Listen, we didn't have a lot to work with as far as graphics go in 1996, and this was way ahead of its time. The PC version was released in 1997 and had a special set of 3D graphics drivers and filters, which required a high-end graphics card. Even today, its requirements could be incompatible with certain hardware. We're pretty sure the team met with Doc Brown and Marty McFly from Back to the Future and traveled into the future to create a game far more advanced than the world was prepared for. Spider-Man PS1. Spider-Man for the PlayStation 1 was another epic game for its time. It was released in 2001 and had amazing controls as well as a story most fans felt good about. It was like fans of Spider-Man actually made the game or something. Probably one of our favorite ways to troll players also took place in this game. There was a difficulty setting cleverly titled as Kid Mode. If you highlighted the mode on the screen, a couple of paid crazy maniacs would shout Kid Mode at you in a high-pitched voice. If you were childish enough to choose this level, then you would have been able to play through the most pointless game of your entire life. Kid Mode was like basically giving a controller to a 3-year-old and saying good luck, because the game just played itself through. You didn't even need to do very much, and entire portions of the game were left out, because the game developers knew that your fragile mind couldn't handle the epicness of the actual gameplay. The game even takes control away from you for certain portions. If you have children, feel free to let them play the game on this mode. But if you're over the age of 5 and you play for fun, we're really concerned for your well-being. Devil May Cry. The Devil May Cry series was basically the forefather of hack-and-slash video games. Okay, maybe it wasn't the first, but it was arguably one of the best out there. This was originally intended to be a sequel to the Resident Evil series, but lucky for us, it was turned into its very own title. It doesn't mean Capcom didn't feel like trolling the fans a bit with the first Devil May Cry title. In fact, they did something fans still regret admitting to. A difficulty setting was created called Automatic Mode. To most people, it just means the game would automatically do everything for you. But this isn't quite the case for Devil May Cry. This mode had to be earned by dying 3 times in the game. In this case, you would be given the choice to enter Automatic Mode. Now, if you did this, there would be quite a few disadvantages to the gameplay. It meant you could not execute combos in the middle of a fight, which are essential for playing the game. You also could only execute some commands out of battle, and you would have to play the game entirely in this mode to unlock the other difficulty settings. It meant there was only one way out. CASTLEVANIA 64. Konami was king of trolling players who would try to play on easy mode, which is why they made CASTLEVANIA 64 such a great game with a choice in difficulty settings. If you were a fan of the prior Castlevania titles and epic violin intros, then you would quickly discover how combat changed in this one. The combat was a bit more complex with basic targeting, a lock-on system, and the ability to use both long-range attacks and close-quarter attacks during combat. If you choose easy mode as your difficulty, you will only be able to play up until the castle center level. After this, the game would prompt you to choose normal mode. If you didn't do so, you wouldn't be able to go any further in the game. Only under certain conditions, which had to be met through normal mode, could you unlock hard mode. The most difficult setting meant enemies required more hits to be defeated, and weapons needed to be supplied with more red jewels to be used by the player. It's a very difficult game, but if you're up for the challenge, it's definitely worth a shot. Streets of Rage 3. There's always been disagreement between Japan and the Western world about who is actually playing the more difficult games. Streets of Rage 3 was no exception in the age-old battle of egotistical gamers. We promise this is a compliment. The game was given a different name in Japan, and it was called Bare Knuckles 3. This side-scrolling beat-em-up game was released by Sega in 1994, and was the last part of the Streets of Rage series. This was a sad realization for fans, but it was also the end of Sega, so we can't say we didn't see it coming. Most fans thought that by playing on easy mode, they would still get everything they wanted from the game. Unfortunately, they thought incorrectly. you don't actually get to finish the game at all on this difficulty setting. When you beat Robot X at the end of the 5th stage, you'll get him to taunt you, stating, "You play like a beginner." After this occurs, your game resets and locks you out of a third of the gameplay to get to the last stages for the ending. The worst part is it only did this on the American versions, as the Japanese version of Easy Mode didn't do this. They're just adding insult to injury at this point. Twisted Metal 2. Who grew up in the late 90s and didn't play a game from the Twisted Metal series? Trust us, it just didn't happen. Especially if you had a friend who owned a PlayStation console. Twisted Metal was the best car combat game of its day. There was nothing quite like it, even though many games had tried to replicate it. For all the fans of the original Twisted Metal, the second one was even better. We weren't sure it could be done, but it definitely was. The worst part of Twisted Metal 2 was it was actually fairly difficult, especially if you were playing solo against the computer. You could make things easier on yourself by choosing to play on easy mode. If you were one of the lucky players who was able to experience the easier difficulty setting, you would have soon discovered something very frustrating. The game lets you play one boss, and after you beat it, it's game over. It's over before it even began. Not only that, but you'll get taunted by a giant stop sign on the screen saying, "No losers allowed beyond this point." It's like the game is trying to tell you something. Hopefully you'll quickly get the hint that you can either fail multiple times on normal mode, or you don't get to enjoy the full benefits of the game. What are some games you know of that troll players for choosing easy mode? Are there any games you think could use an easy mode to make them more playable? Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and we hope you join us next time. And remember, if you don't want to be bombarded with lackluster YouTube content on gaming, be sure to subscribe to our channel. I'll see you next time on The Gamer.